Hello, my name is Spurgeon-Couraud. Today I will be presenting my prototype for the TurnBot RPG engine. In this presentation, I will discuss the following: the idea, the audience, and the journey, that including the legacy code I started with, setting reasonable goals for this class, making the overworld, battle screen, and carrying stats between rooms. So the general idea was to create an engine for top-down RPGs, inspired by the likes of RPG Maker. I decided to use JavaScript specifically for browser-based RPGs, because that's more likely to be noticed by people, as casual players won't have to download anything. I also plan to make it free to use and open source so that users may modify/improve the engine as they see fit and spread it to others. That aspect was inspired by the likes of Friday Night Funkin'. I created this first and foremost for myself, as my own personal passion project is an RPG, and the coding work on this may be transferred over to the rest of that project. However, I am also making this for fellow amateur game devs, as this engine will be completely free to use, again, unlike RPG Maker, which I only remember getting as a free trial. Browser game players might also benefit from this, as more development tools tend to mean more games. My legacy code comes from a top-down tutor I made for M.203 called Jeff the Robot, using tools provided by my professor, Miles Anato. This game provides movement in response to button presses, objects that interact upon collision, and some legacy artwork. My goal for this term was to create a simple prototype that, while hard-coded, provides a baseline for important mechanics: travel through the overworld, NPC dialogue, turn-based battles, and stats. For the overworld, my initial goal was to only copy over parts of the legacy code that I wanted to use, rather than edit the legacy code directly, but that proved fruitless pretty quickly. Instead, I took the shooter game as a whole, removed all enemies but one, and stopped it from moving. From there, I changed the screen barrier so that instead of teleporting you to the other side, it teleported you right back where you were, giving the illusion of a wall. I then did something similar for when the player collides with the enemy, and changed the player's bullets into invisible object checkers that print dialogue instead of dealing damage. For the battle screen, I also used the code I had so far, but had it as a separate HTML file from the overworld, because it didn't occur to me how else to change the rooms yet. I may handle this differently later in development, as having to click out of the loading screen every battle could get annoying. I had the hero frozen in place so that the movement buttons could instead sort through a primitive menu. So far there's only one quote-unquote button, the fight button, but I imagine there will be an array of options later on, hence the changing number that would be used to select them. I also made a primitive game over page for if the player loses, and made it so that the player cannot win without a stat increase, forcing me to work on that part next. Carrying stats between rooms, I put that off the longest because it was going to require the most research, and it was something I struggled with back when I made games in Game Maker. For overworld rooms, I decided to cheat, essentially just change the background and spawn in different NPCs depending on what door you most recently touched, rather than having it view a different file. This also skipped the loading screen at the cost of bloating the file size a bit. As for carrying stats into battle, research led me to using session data, which lasts until the user closes their browser tab. While this won't make an effective tool for save files, it will make an excellent tool for single-play sessions. So yeah, that's TurnBot so far. GitHub and itch.io links are in the description if you want to check them out, and thank you all for listening.